like to call to order the Wednesday, June 8th meeting of the City of Monona Landmarks Commission. Can we take roll call? Doug, do you usually do that?
Yes, I have it noted.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And approval of the minutes for the March 9th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Any changes or amendments? Any discussion? No. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Are they approved?
Yes.
They are approved. All right. No appearances. Are there any appearances tonight? I believe not.
No.
Any
nobody.
unfinished business? Says none. Any new business? Here we go. Discussion and possible recommendation to Wisconsin State Historical Society regarding the National Register nominations for 5805 Winnequa Road and 4207 Monona Drive. Doug, would you like to speak to that?
Yes. So this is really by way of giving an update as well, but sort of more of a matter of process than anything. So both of these properties are on the state register now, or the state historical register, and have been recommended to the National Register. The property at 5805 Winnequa received unanimous recommendation in February from the state, and 4207 Monona Drive, the Coles food store, the Restore building as it currently is, in just a couple of weeks ago in May, received its unanimous recommendation. And so as part of that, as part of the process, they do typically ask the state or the local landmarks commission for a letter of recommendation. I did speak with staff at the state in terms of process and timing of this, that it's a little bit out of process now, but they did say it's always nice to have a letter of recommendation, letter of support. Obviously with this and the fact that the commission was almost putting it forward in the first place, it's kind of, it would be repeating or a little bit duplicative, but I still think that there would be some benefit just for record keeping and things like that. So I wanted to bring this forward. I included the draft materials of both nominations in the packet just for reference. And I am working, and just today, this morning, I did receive the materials from UW Milwaukee for the Restore building. So I have their presentation, which they gave at both meetings, which also includes a lot more photographs as well. So nice. I have those. I can even I can share that. I can get that uploaded to the website so that we have those. That's all included, and we'll sort of accompany the text as well. And I'm working to get that for the residential property on Winnequa as well. So really wanted to give that update, but also just, get a possible recommendation to work with maybe with yourself as the chair on just a short letter on letterhead that we can share and pass along for each of these.
Absolutely, be happy to do that. Yeah. Is there a member of the committee that it would be appropriate, someone with more experience in this area, in addition to myself, or is it not necessary to?
I think generally, I think the request was to be signed by the chair, but certainly if there was an action from the commission to recommend that, unanimously recommend support or something like that, I think that would be great.
I want to defer to those with more experience in this matter than myself. So and to make sure that those voices are heard, but happy to help. Thank you.
Do you want a motion on this?
Absolutely, yes. If you would like to, I'd welcome that.
So I move that the Landmarks Commission submit what are we calling this? A letter of recommendation?
Yes, or support.
A letter of support for the nomination of 5805 Winnequa Road and 4207 Monona Drive for the National Register.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Motion passes. Are we ready to move on? Is there anything more to be said?
Any more discussion? Okay. Nothing else.
Okay. Letter B is discussion and possible action regarding 2022-2023 Commission work plan. And I believe for this item on the agenda, we'd be looking at this matrix that Doug put together. Am I correct about that? All right.
Yes.
So Doug was kind enough to meet with me and sort of get me up to speed on a few questions I had about landmarks and all the other work that he does, which is plenty, my goodness. And as part of that discussion, we talked about just looking out over the calendar and getting some ideas for what this body might focus on over the next 12 months. And that's where this grid came about, breaking that down into short-term, medium, and long-term projects, and a little description, timelines, and then putting the name of someone who might take the lead on that. The lead, not necessarily in all cases, meaning that this person does all the work, but simply that they would be the go-to person to, if you know, and to make sure that it gets done. And this person would be absolutely free to recruit others in getting it where it needs to be. And then as far as the description goes, if there's something that the rest of us have questions about or want to collaboratively, you know, describe what we feel the scope of this project needs to be, now would be the time that we could do that, or later too. But I see that Doug has selflessly already assigned himself to 3 projects there, but I believe some of them you've already practically finished, right?
Yeah, plenty of these. The one that they're already, you know, on my plan or underway. So happy to take those on. But certainly, I think just getting, I think plenty of these were good suggestions, but it was just a case of looking for a little support and discussion around these, and if there was support or if it was something that we wanted to maybe, you know, just push to a later date or something like that, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I'm glad to nominate myself for many of these.
Mhm.
If you'd like. These are, a lot of these things are things that I'd love to be part of.
Okay, thank you. Are there particular ones that stand out?
Well, no, these are all great items. They all look like fun to me. So I'd be glad to at least be one of the people who get involved, if not others.
And this, I don't know if there's any, there could certainly be, you know, 2 people that lead any given, you know, project, work together. And again, my thoughts were that, you know, the lead would recruit a group to help if needed.
Right.
And then report back at meetings on the progress.
Yeah. Well, let's see. With the international style homes, I had started to work with Ann Weiderlich on this when we had talked about it a while back. And I think there was talk about trying to do something along these lines for a previous historic preservation month. So Ann and I have already done some research and outlining of some of the history of the international style homes. So I'm, you know, I've already got some work underway there. When it comes to the National Register outreach, I guess I think we might want to think in terms of the National Register district that got outlined in the survey. And we had talked about working with the home organization there, Frostwoods Neighborhood, and just continuing to educate people about the historic preservation tax credits as a way of building support. So I don't know if I would really be the best person to do that, but I'd be glad to help. And as far as historic preservation month planning, yeah, I don't know. I'd be glad to work with other people. I don't have anything specific for that other than maybe some plaque dedications for the 2 National Register sites that have since been designated. And I could certainly help with getting some plaques together for those. Be glad to have some help in planning the event. But I think we talked about that once before. So I think those are my thoughts right now.
Okay, thanks.
So far, Rick, it sounds like you're a solid, you and Anne perhaps, on the international style homes.
Sure. Yeah, I think she's still very interested. And by white paper, I think we'd have to kind of figure out kind of what that's really about. I don't think we just want to write something for its own sake. I think it's more a matter of how that's delivered to people or what form that takes.
Mhm.
But something that's focused on those international style homes in Monona, that makes a lot of sense. I think we want to give ourselves a little bit more leeway on what form that takes.
Sure.
Doug, would you mind explaining the advantages of having that white paper and what it might be used for and who the audience would be?
Yeah, I think it was really a placeholder. I think generally there was there had previously been discussion of some sort of research about the international style homes to better publicize, the resources and what is here in the city, to give some history to that. So I would certainly defer. I don't think it was intentional to just frame it as a white paper. If it were to take a different form, to take presentation or something like that, I certainly would be open to that.
Would it be something we would want to just use as a way, another element of general Monona promotion, or on our website, or is that?
I could see it as
understanding that correctly?
a walking tour or self-guided tour of some kind.
Okay.
I could see it as a web-based exhibit.
Yeah.
Those two forms, I think, make sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, the scope is really something that, is open for definition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it turned into a walking tour, that could be part of Historic Preservation Month planning, just
Hmm.
international style homes to roll
Yeah.
that together.
Definitely.
Could be a bike tour.
Could be a bike tour. We could combine it with bike
There
month.
you go.
Yeah.
That's a really great suggestion. And I think back up toward the top of the list where, just getting out there and cleaning up those markers, that something to do before May, that could be part of that tour as well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's nice to get those done before, well, I'm sorry. Historic Preservation Month is next May, so we've got, okay, of course. We've got a good long time on that. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. I think the one thing there, I think with the markers is just what's the best way to clean them, figure that out.
Mhm.
I don't know if we know what the markers or what metal they're made of. So that might be the first issue with that, and then figuring out an appropriate cleaning method. And then it could either be done with volunteers or city staff, I'm not sure, but it might be a good volunteer project.
I would
That's
hope
something
volunteers would take it on.
Yeah. Rebecca had mentioned it was a question that I still need to ask of Public Works in terms of the materials and what would be best to do so. I think that had been discussion that it could be a good team building exercise type event to take a couple on and to showcase them in the better weather and all these types of things. So I think it was a little more intentional for it to be kind of a group effort with that one. And again, kind of methodically working through, I think a couple are in more need of a little cleanup than others. So we could start there and just work through. But I can certainly, I'll look to coordinate with Public Works as kind of the first point, but also just make sure that obviously we're doing it in the right way.
Yeah, right.
Doug, I want to bring up that I don't think cleaning local landmark folders falls under the scope of the Landmarks Commission.
Mhm.
And I don't know if everyone on the Landmarks Commission is available outside of these meetings to meet up and go do other events like that.
Is it worthy finding out whose responsibility it is, if anyone's?
Well, it seems, I mean, Public
it fall under
Works put
Public
these
Works, or-
folders in place, so why can't they maintain them? They are public, they're the city property, so
Although it might be a good team building experience.
I agree
To-
with that,
to Doug's
yeah.
point.
Yeah, I agree with Doug. I was looking at it also as a really nice team building experience for all of us to spend some time together and get to know a little bit more about each of the several historic places. Not everyone, of course, there's no requirement to participate whatsoever. And I just do know from hearing it time and time again about how stretched our staff are and how there's so many things all of the committees want to do, and it always comes down to time and money and resources. The third being manpower, people power. So if we can get the third, just as a volunteer group, we can get it done.
And speaking of markers, I guess there's one on the corner of Dean and Monona Drive, where there's a development project going in, where the drive-through bank is.
Yeah.
So there's a marker there that will probably need to be rescued from that development project. I'm not sure what the timing is on that.
It's not soon.
I don't
It's
either.
not a done deal.
Yeah, there's still a lot of steps, but that
Okay.
would certainly, be something that, looking to incorporate that sign if and when we come to that point. But it still is yet to receive any sort of formal approvals.
Okay.
from my commission, and there's a couple others further.
Okay.
on. I appreciate the mention of that.
Okay. Something to keep our eye on, I guess.
Certainly.
With the National Register outreach, we had talked about doing a workshop on the tax credits, right? Would that be something we should plan for? We thought that was one way to get people interested in applying for the National Register, just the financial advantage of doing the tax credits. And since there are one or two projects in Monona that have taken advantage of those tax credits, maybe getting someone who's done the work, the homeowner, to talk about the project and how it worked for them, or hopefully worked for them.
Absolutely, I would agree. And I should just kind of preface that a lot of this was suggestions that I had heard, and things can move in priority or get taken off or be added to. I don't think the description was meant to be exhaustive of possible.
Yeah.
And so definitely, I think that was a very general comment, but I think still building on that momentum and certainly a tax credit element, I think would make sense to have that presentation and further discussion.
Yeah, I think, state staff are often available for these things, although they might need to schedule it far in advance. But, and then we'd have to scope out, someone from Bungalowan who used the tax credits or something of that sort. Would make a nice presentation that people might be interested in.
Yeah, that's a little more in depth than cleaning off some markers, isn't it? That's a big one.
Well, but I think it falls under that National Register outreach. So it's a longer, yeah.
I think that if we wanted to present to the Frostwoods neighborhood as a district, that we should probably do it before their annual meeting next year, which always falls in April. So I think reaching out to them like we had planned to do
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
setting up a kind of presentation with the Historical Society.
Yeah.
Jim Draper said he would be willing to help with it
Okay.
at that.
Oh, great.
Talked about it.
Yeah.
So there are how many eligible properties?
Well, the big one is the district, Frost Woods. It's a huge historic district with dozens of homes in it. But other than that, was there another dozen or so, I think, as I recall?
Of specific ones? Yeah.
Individual properties?
Yeah, a number of the, I think 15 or 16 individually eligible, there were a number of those that were within, including bungalow, that were also within the district. But I think you mentioned 121
There are
total.
121 homes total in the Frost
But
Woods.
not all of them were eligible.
Wow.
Not all of them are eligible, but that's how many homeowners potentially have a say
Exactly.
in the district. I'm sorry, when? Is it 120 or 121? 121.
Rhonda, was that how many contributing properties or how many total properties?
No, that's how many total properties, but if you're going to have a district, everybody in
Okay.
there has a,
Hmm.
we're going to have to outreach to all of them before we can have a district.
Oh, yeah, they all get to vote.
They all get to decide.
Is it a
Yeah.
thing or is it
I don't know
2/3?
what it is.
It's 2/3.
It's 2/3. 2/3 of all homes
All
within a
homes.
district.
Not turnout, but it's all homes, isn't it? It's-
Just
yeah.
homes, yeah.
So you
So it
need
can be a
81.
single person.
Yes, but that's a massive effort out of
It is.
120. That's,
It was a massive effort.
Is it doable? Do you think?
I think it's doable, but it is 80 signatures that we need.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
We usually get 40 proxies, so there's 40.
Yeah. I think we can guarantee 50. It's tracking down an additional 30 that is.
Yeah.
It's just going to be an effort to get them to sign off
Yeah,
and explain to everybody.
that's why I think a really good presentation about this does not affect the
The
assessment
non-contributing,
of your
it doesn't
home.
affect,
It doesn't affect
it
the
doesn't-
interior, you know, like all the questions.
it
people
doesn't
would
even
have.
prevent you from doing anything to your home. You
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want your home, it just makes you eligible for tax credits, but
Right.
Wow.
there will be a fear factor there that it could
Mhm.
change, so.
And Rebecca, when did you say the neighborhood, did you say there was an event? I can't recall what the name of it was.
Our annual meeting.
Annual meeting in Frostwoods.
Is in
Yeah.
April. The next big social gathering is September, the first Sunday after Labor Day, which is probably
Is
the
the 11th.
11th.
Okay.
That will be the next big social gathering where we will have 40 to 50, we'll have 40 to 50 homes represented at that, usually.
Would
Is-
September be too soon to try to get an event together?
Well, I don't
Or-
think we want to do it at the same.
Sounds like that might be,
Or is it appropriate? Yeah, yeah,
It'll be
No,
good
not-
at the same
not-
time as Sunday social event, but
yeah.
for instance, having a meeting scheduled a week or two after, I think would be good timing because we can make sure everybody who comes to eat, we have a really
Ah.
nice meal, so we get good turnout. So everybody who came would then know about the meeting.
That's a good point.
Sign a petition and you don't eat.
So would there be,
Sign your name or you get no
No food.
food for you.
For you.
Um, But I think that would just help us get turnout for an actual event if it's shortly after that.
You can get better food.
You can get better food. It's
Hot
already
dog.
pretty good food. Oh, that's true.
Cold hot dog?
Cold hot dog? Or you want the shrimp? No.
so
get
are
an
we
extra-
envisioning like some sort of an invitation that would go out to an event that would be held a week or two after September 11th?
wow, I think that would be
Sure.
great.
I think if we could get one later in
Pretty good.
September, if we could have a community event at the,
Mhm.
in the library meeting room or a meeting room big enough to hold, hopefully the turnout that we will get if we work at it. Then,
In the library? That sounds really nice.
Well, then I think we probably want two staff people from the Historical Society, one that can talk about what it means to be listed on the National Register.
Mm.
You know, what it does and doesn't do to you as a private homeowner. And then someone to talk about the tax credits.
Yeah.
And
that-
here's the major financial benefit if you do let your property be listed on. That might be help, you know, people get the answers they need, get the straight information.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think they've done this kind of talk before, so it's something for them, you know, it's something they've done before. So it wouldn't be hard for them to put something together. It's just a matter of arranging a date that would work for both of them and that we could find an appropriate location.
A question that I have about this, especially with the district, is who is seen to be championing this, and is this something that, say, it would be commission led, or is it led by the district? I don't quite know who is leading it, and who is kind of obviously we would have state representatives there, but how this would interface and how that would be perceived, I guess, is one of my questions. Is it city letters that are going out, or
That's a good
invitations? Yeah.
I thought we wanted to do it.
Who's championing
I thought we wanted to do it as part of the CLG grant opportunity for the next round.
Well,
So that would be part of the commission, right?
yeah, and so that kind of leads to the final point. At a staff level, I would say that I think we should be targeting the 2024 grant CLG,
Mhm.
just that we still have spend down and we would be overlapping, and I think from a workload, but also in optics, I just don't think it is right.
I think 2024 is appropriate anyway, just because we wouldn't have an annual meeting till
Right.
April of 2023.
And so and this is probably getting into the weeds a little bit, but it helps with the timing at least. So are we thinking September is more of a state presentation and we just try and get as many people in there and sort of have that be the beginning of the discussion and then kind of let it snowball from there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there are a number of Frostwoods residents who are very in favor of it and would like to see it go through. So there would be
Wow, great.
local neighbors wanting to push it forward.
I do.
Oh,
too,
that's
but
great.
I also remember a few neighbors who were against even having a sign.
Yes,
So
100%. So
Really?
mhm.
don't draw
Not in
attention.
their yard or
Just a neighborhood sign.
Really?
I'm not able to see who's speaking. Is that Brenda that was just mentioning the local folks who are in favor and opposed?
Yes.
It was both Rebecca and Brenda. That's probably why you were.
Rebecca and Brenda. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hi, Brenda. Hello.
Right, I think there'll be some vocal support, Bungalow and being high up on the list of vocal support in that arrow. But there'll be some opposed.
So what's in it, aside from setting us up for a grant in the future? Is there any other benefit that comes to the city if Frostwood District becomes a historical district?
The city doesn't gain anything.
Yeah, I think it
Gains
just.
a landmark, a historic
Recognition.
neighborhood, recognition as a historic
Recognition,
neighborhood.
And I think it would just help push forward other
Maintenance of our
opportunities.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if you want to publicize this, but when people do these tax credit projects, their property values go up. So indirectly, tax receipts should go up too.
Yeah.
There are other districts in Monona, correct?
Correct.
There are in Madison, though.
Correct.
Yes.
And are those good examples to share,
There are some,
right?
yeah.
Are there bad examples? to
I don't think there's any bad
Okay.
ones, no.
share? That might help.
Yeah.
Sell it, so to speak.
Yeah, there are some districts where the homeowners, actively solicited the city to make them a local district because they wanted to protect neighborhood character. So they weren't as interested in the development aspect of the property as they were in protecting what they saw as character, neighborhood character.
So I think what I'm hearing is sort of a maybe third week, fourth week in September, some sort of event at the library led by state staff with both the 101 of what it means and sort of those details, as well as running through the tax credits, having maybe a second staff person there. I think I'm happy to take those elements on from kind of an organizational standpoint. I think I would look to commission members to help with getting the word out. Again, I'm not sure at this point, do we want to be doing kind of paper mailings to the whole district, or is it better for it to be some other type of engagement or event that works with the district?
That's good.
So Doug, I just want to just ask a couple questions. So if we don't do anything, we just say not going to, no work done, zero, right? What are the risks of doing nothing?
To the district or to the?
Yeah, to not moving forward at all with the Frostwoods Historical District or any of the historical with this item as a long-term project.
I mean,
National Register outreach.
I believe they remain eligible
Yeah,
without
they're already
without
eligible.
significant
Yeah.
changes. So it's sort of an ongoing, and I think it would be fair to say that certainly the CLG, if it wasn't successful, the grant application, if it wasn't immediately successful, maybe there's something to pursue again a second time or something like that. But without significant changes, I believe they would remain eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're inappropriately remodeled. I mean, so there is the chance that some of these properties wouldn't be preserved as in terms of their historic character. So
John has a question here.
Quick question, might not be quick, but Rick, I thought I just heard you say that property values could increase. Therefore,
well, they would if the incentives, if the tax credits.
Rick, he's not finished with this question.
Oh, sorry.
so if property values increase, taxes increase, wouldn't the whole city have a vote? Because it could affect people outside the district. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's a national designation and the rules are such that if less than half of the people in the district object. So if there's 100 people and 49 people object, the project would still go forward. It would still be eligible for listing. Is that what you mean? You're talking about voting on the historic district nomination?
I'm saying that you said that it would increase property values, which would then relate to taxes. And if I'm a property member who lives across the street from this district, it could affect my land value. And so all my question was, is if that's the case, because I thought we said it didn't affect property values earlier.
Not directly.
Okay.
It's just that it attracts investment.
Okay, we can move on.
When you use the tax credits, you are bettering your property,
Right.
therefore increasing its
Okay.
value.
Do we need, I'm kind of make a list and put a name next to the items on the list. Do we need someone to reach out to the library, put a date and time on the calendar, draft an invitation, reach out to speakers at the State Historical Society?
So I'm happy to kind of work on the room and the making sure that we have speakers and representatives from the state that can join. I think they obviously kind of go hand in hand as well with that, and I'll be targeting at least a week post the 11th, just to give some buffer there. I think definitely there's still more to discuss about promotion and getting the word out there and how that is kind of done. I think one of the differences compared to previous meetings that we've had in a similar setting is the room is a lot more equipped now to do recordings and to do for us to be able to effectively put this up on the city's YouTube page, and we can
Right.
reference that and get the presentations, and I think it'll be a little bit more streamlined for those that can't attend as well. But I think that would be a good first point to just kind of gauge interest, at least to begin that, with a view, and it kind of bleeds through this work plan here, but with a view to thinking about future grants and maybe pursuing those things. But at least getting beginning the discussion and just seeing how things go.
Right, I see this as more like, if we never start the process, we'll never start the process.
Right.
So if we can have a meeting that gives out information, then the neighborhood association can decide if they're going to push for it
Mhm.
or not, which I'm not comfortable speaking for them
Right.
on that
Is
right
it by
now.
invitation? I mean, so we would get RSVPs to see,
It'd be a public meeting.
it would be public, but
Yeah.
could it be
I-
just
I would see it as an open meeting, anybody, and probably promoted, again, a difference. Now we have the city newsletter, for example, the email that would go out that would be citywide. And so I think it would probably generate more interest than just the district.
Yeah.
And I think for some of the reasons we've already spoken about, but I think generally curiosity too. So yeah, I would be reluctant, again, certainly with the individual homes. I did the letters, I did kind of the cold calling almost, and it didn't seem to work very well. I think if the district is comfortable at least promoting the meeting, neutral stance at least, but just I think that's the best way to reach that group.
Okay.
I can get it on the calendar and on the those things, just as I think other groups and folks that would use the library would be. But I think kind of staying neutral would be a good place to be. But certainly I would see it as open door meeting.
Doug, did I hear you? Are you saying that you think it would be best not to directly invite those who live in the district or those who live in the eligible homes?
I'm still considering that. I think,
I feel there's a risk by not inviting them.
okay.
I feel it's a courtesy.
Mhm.
I feel that someone could very easily say, well, nice that someone told me that my house was in a district and there's a meeting going on and I'm affected by it. I feel like it's a courtesy. It's not an obligation, but it's a courtesy if they care to attend and learn more. And then, of course, the general public would be invited as well through just general announcements. But
Yeah.
it just has a nice touch to have an invitation, especially if there is something in it for the city, if there is something in it that we're hoping that more historic districts will come about. My thoughts also gravitate toward this concept of just drawing on local expertise and local knowledge and perhaps there is someone who lives in the Frostwoods district right now that is on this committee?
There are two,
There are two of us.
Rebecca and Brenda are both
Yep.
on the board.
Okay, wonderful. So that's perfect. So, I mean,
It's not a problem for us to publicize. I cannot speak. The board certainly has not had a meeting and said we're in favor of this. It has come up at other meetings many times. People are generally aware, but not with no specifics. So
yeah.
Yeah, if we get specifics, then we can move forward.
Okay,
So if there is a meeting, we can make sure that it is promoted, that there is mail sent to each home, that there are emails, and it's up on
Facebook.
websites, that's up and big signs at our social events.
Yeah. And I think, and I appreciate that. And I think from the city's perspective, it would be at least, from my viewpoint, and I'd want probably to speak to, some of the alders and the mayor as well about this, just from the city almost keeping this as informational at this point and just letting it, if there is support, the CLG grant is obviously something that can be done through the commission, and that's that avenue. But I think, again, knowing kind of the feedback I have received, certainly from individual property owners, is, well, is the city doing this? And do I have a say? And so I think keeping almost an arm's length and keeping it informational would be helpful for that purpose. Certainly we can use our resources to publicize it, but I think just almost letting folks come to the room and it just being an organic conversation, I think would be the best.
Yeah, Doug, I was gonna say that I think this should be like an open public informational meeting to all the eligible properties that are in the survey. But we want to target the district as well because that's in the survey. So I think anyone can attend,
Yes.
but we
Yeah.
want to target the audience.
Yeah.
But to also target the audience of those also eligible as individual properties.
Yeah.
right. So I think we're saying the same thing, right? Just the invitation would be public, but it would also, there would be a special touch to those most affected. Yeah.
That sounds good.
I'm sorry, we all got way in the weeds on that from a certain action item for the future, so.
No, I think I think there is, and I'm scribbling notes here. I do think the outreach, I think we'll be leaning on Frostwoods Association, certainly for the district, the two board members that we have here on the commission. I'll take on more of the admin side and the mailings and things like that, and leveraging city resources to publicize. And I think that does lead to the CLG grant opportunities. I think there have been discussion and a couple ideas and suggestions, mentioned. And I think that this, if it were to be in September, would give a lot of guidance before the letter of intent, 11 months down the line. So if that seems to be a priority, if that seems to be moving forward, it seems like that they could kind of lead off one another for sure.
Does it make sense to come back to this matrix at a future meeting and just be happy with the progress we've made so far? There's some action items already. There's Doug would be looking into some things. Rick and Ann are going to taking on the international style homes. Brandon and Rebecca are sort of waiting to see what Doug finds out. And then we can always come back to this later, but I just want to be mindful of the time on the clock and then the items on the agenda that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, I think that works for me.
Excellent. All right. So moving on to 6C, staff updates.
Yes, so National Register nomination updates, obviously we have the two that have proceeded. We have two more that are still either underway or in the queue. The Burrard home is submitted and just waiting for its hearing. So that one is in a holding. I would assume that will be in the summer meeting from the state. And I did just hear today from the consultant, I think I'd mentioned in updates, it may not have been in a meeting yet, but that the Matt Arrow is proceeding with his nomination as well. And so that is about halfway done, I heard from the consultant today. So that will be meeting the September deadline that we have for the CLG money. And so potentially out of this, we could get 4 nominations, which I think would be really great.
That's
So
great.
Yeah.
and that obviously lends itself with that home being in Frostwoods again, another
And international.
and international, yes.
Exactly.
And so I think that there's a lot of benefits to that as well. So just wanted to share that good news. And as mentioned in the matrix too, I'll be getting these materials sort of finalized and I think at least one in the packet is a copy. So getting the originals, getting the raw files, creating a landing page, and sort of having these all accessible. There's a lot of good details there, but I think getting the PowerPoints as well would be helpful for the visuals. So working to kind of pull those together as well. And I also got an update from the same consultant that the mailing that we would have, sort of the informational materials for future eligible properties, that is going to be starting soon, as is the high resolution map. So we'll be having both of those as well. And that should be done. It will pretty much have to be done by that September meeting. So that materials, again, we could share. I think there'll be a lot of interested folks in that room. So we'll have those files, and we can get some, nice printouts done as well. So it's moving along.
Updates, discussion on diversity, equity, inclusion efforts.
Yes, and maybe you can speak a little more to this, but I know Monday the City Council accepted the report, the final report from the ad hoc work group on the diversity and equity issues, and so that was included in the meeting packet. And
it was, yeah. Jason Chung, who is one of the members of the city's DEI commission, and I believe the chair, spoke at length, eloquently, beautifully about some of the work that they've been doing to just uncover and work to address some of the concerns that have been brought forward, and everything from looking at hiring practices to looking at grassroots-led initiatives to low-income housing that is accessible and affordable, transportation. There's just a lot going on in Monona that may not be evident to everyone. Policing, hiring practices. It was an incredibly thorough report, and I'm hoping it will be available on the city website sometime soon, and definitely worth a read for everyone. We've got just, I think, about a couple there's a workforce housing development that's been approved for Broadway. So right across from the side door of Menards, there is sort of that gas station. It would be sort of in that property, just a really high quality, minority owned developer that will be putting just an impressive building in that area with, solar and other renewable features to keep costs low for the occupants. Other things that we talk about: transportation. The city of Madison, the council is considering whether to change up our Monona bus system just a bit, allowing Madison Metro to come into the city and to offer more regular bus service, something that would, be every hour buses that would come into, the downtown area, maybe taking, families and kids to and from the swimming pool. There has been no decision on that, but it is a tremendous DEI topic when you think about it. People that just rely on that public transportation. Those are the two things the handful of things that come to mind. But again, just keep your eyes open for that report. It's published on the city website. What about any updates or from anyone else that would care to share anything? Was anyone involved in the community read that the library hosted? A really proud day for Monona about a month ago. I know that we didn't meet in last month, but the library is sponsoring a community read, 3 books for 3 different levels of readers, from adult to teens and children, about anti-racism and how to what it is and how to do our part And I believe that they are still accepting members if anyone cares to get in on that and read and discuss. The third thing I will say is that in Monona, there is the Monona ARC, ARC, which stands for Anti-Racism Circles. It also stands for Awareness, Relationships, and Commitments. Building awareness, building relationships, and then making commitments to make change in our community. And you can go to their website also and sign up for a future conversation circle if that is of interest to you. Monona has some of the oldest housing stock in all of Dane County. And I think it would not be a surprise to this body to learn that even though they are no longer legally enforceable, a good number of those historic home deeds do have written right into them some pretty exclusive, some language that lets us know who can and cannot purchase those homes. One of the many things that the ARC group tries to shed awareness on. It's really nice. I'm going to move on. Updates or discussion on sustainability efforts?
Nothing from staff.
Nothing from staff. Anything from others in the room? I'll share that last month, the Monona Grove High School installed on its roof the largest rooftop solar array on any Wisconsin K through 12 building. There are over 2,000 facilities belonging to school districts throughout the state of Wisconsin, and our school has the largest array. Among its many environmental benefits, the array will actually put the financial situation of the district in a state of a positive cash flow only in the very first year. It is a no-brainer to move forward with these sorts of projects. It's good for, there's no downside. So essentially the district borrows a chunk of money to pay for the panels, but the money that they save in electricity cost is greater than the payment on that loan every month, keeping more than we're spending. It's fantastic, fantastic situation. Something we should be proud of. All right, 6D, Landmarks Commission request for city staff. Anything to report, Doug?
This would
I have a
typically-
question.
Yeah,
Sure.
this would typically be where members may ask questions of me.
Okay. Well, I should have asked this earlier. I'm sorry. But with the Spring Haven Pagoda, there's a note there about understanding costs for a possible 2023 capital budget request. And I thought that there was already money designated or for this project already.
There is. It builds upon the discussion from the last meeting about the possible work to the roof and the columns and things that were discussed. And so that's something I'm still working to get sort of a feasibility on. And that was a part of the denial of the original request for the demolition, was to sort of explore the options there. So that's something I'm still working on. Hope to have some information to share. And depending upon the scale and extent of that, it may exceed or maybe requesting to exceed what is already allocated. So it was really just a timing and just making sure that it was in the workflow for that.
Okay. So your goal at this point is to work with the consultant to estimate feasibility?
It would mainly be sharing the report that we had from structural integrity from the second opinion, basically, sharing that most likely with CMR and having that discussion, just effectively checking in with one consultant at this point. I know others were also mentioned. A couple names came up in discussion. And so really just having those dialogues and seeing what is possible. Firstly, getting a take on that from a contractor as to the feasibility, and then the scale of cost as well. For a project of this size, it would need to go to a formal bid, of course, but just having at least those dialogues to get an order of magnitude. But I think there's still a lot of discussion to be had about the appropriateness and kind of the next steps for that. But I think a piece to that would be the funding and understanding that as well.
Okay.
Any other requests?
So to get a contract with the consultant, you'd have to have money in the budget for that?
With who? With which consultant? Sorry, Rick.
Oh, I thought the Strauss Engineering.
Mm-hmm. He was contracted, structural integrity. They were contracted to do the second opinion. And so that culminated in the meeting on March 9th. So that has been completed. So really it was a case of sharing that report and that opinion that was included with contractors now to just kind of gauge interest. At this point, a consultant has not, or there has not been any more engagement for that.
Okay.
Doug, is structural integrity, is that Strauss?
It is,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so make sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
I just have a request for a future agenda item. Doug and I both attended camp, which was the 2-day Landmarks Commission. What was it? The training session
Yes.
where they had different topics, and I think there was a lot of good information that came out of it. But one of my thoughts about that was how do we promote Monona's history when so much of Monona is being torn down? You know, all of our small post-war houses are getting torn down for bigger houses. Monona Drive, you know, there's so much being torn down on Monona Drive that's original to our city. And while it may be ugly, it's still our history. So I just think that it could be a topic of discussion.
Where was the training?
It was virtual. And so actually a portion of the 25,000 CLG grant that the city had was redirected to fund that. And so, yeah, I should have added that as just an item, but both Rebecca and I had joined, and it was a really good dialogue. They did want the materials to remain just to those that had attended.
Sure.
So we can't share those, but it was, there were some really good sessions there, and it's, yeah, really insightful.
Very nice.
So the discussion would be to just talk about the history more as a group, or
No, I think talk about how we can
educate people?
educate the city
Okay.
and city council members, maybe plan commission. You know, everybody that has to do with development maybe of the city. Just how can we educate them that, you know, our 1960 pool is important. Not the pool itself, you know, just, you know what I mean, like this property itself, or this one may not be, but
Mhm.
just our
Very
city's
nice.
very young, but it's old enough.
I can add that to a future, have that as a discussion item.
Very good. We've got any other requests?
My only comment is that I believe our next meeting is July 6th.
Yep.
Which is an unfortunately timed meeting day with the
Mm.
July 4th travel plans.
Yes.
And quorum. I have no idea if I'm here or not. So I would just like to say that I'm not sure we'll hit quorum there, Doug.
Yes.
Is it something we'd like to look at changing?
Let me, I will take a look at, just so that we're not double booking, if we were to potentially push, I think it may, with the discussion of the Frostwoods district and things, I think there may be a case for a July meeting. And so I can, I'll look into availability, maybe send a doodle poll out sooner rather than later, and just look to either ensure we have quorum on that date, or potentially moving it as well. But I do appreciate you bringing that
As I almost missed this one, and I
up.
do have to go.
All right. So July 6th and then August 10th, next meetings. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic. It was wonderful seeing everyone.
Thanks
Meeting
very
people.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.